All right, guys, here we are to talk about the Shannara Chronicles, Season 1, Episode 6.
I saw you looking at the episode
Yeah, I
number.
cheated every now and again. Look
I
down at your
cheat.
notebook, see what episode we're talking about.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, some shit happened.
Some shit happened. All right, so...
This episode begins with the most obvious dream sequence I've ever seen in my entire life. It became a music video at one point.
Yeah...
And she was like making out with Magda Demon Door.
It solidifies that she what we all thought, she's totally hot for Will, and now like it almost, just because of how obvious her dream was, and maybe she was moaning his name in it, the world knows.
Well, and if she wasn't moaning his name, then the King of the Rovers, who has no reason, I think, to think
Just
that they're a
called it
thing,
out, yeah.
just goes, no doubt thinking of the mongrel's lips. Sometimes the writing is so retarded. Oh, it's great. I like this show. I kind of like this show. I don't know why. More and more, I'm like, why do I like this? But I kind of like this show.
Well, this episode, I thought the beginning didn't suck me in, but the end really had.
Oh yeah, no, things happen.
Yeah. Well, I forget exactly what point in time we find out the demon thing wasn't dead, and like you notice it like long before you ever see it again. The night-looking demon.
Oh, thank God! I'm like the changeling. We talked about that like 4 weeks ago.
No, like that night demon
Yeah.
rises from like the smolders and like it's just fine. And he's like,
No, I know.
Where was he? Blown into dust? Like,
I expected him, him to be fine last episode actually.
yeah.
Or for this episode to open with that, so it was kind of weirdly
That's
placed.
what was weird. And like
But I was
he
kinda
like
like, of
pops up,
course.
but like out of nothing. Like he
He's
wasn't
like, "All right,
underground.
then." Yeah, he kind of has this motif of this like smoke, weird magic smoke thing happening.
That's
he's
just poor CG.
he's
I
like
think
he's like a
done bad.
suit of armor. He's like a magical smoke monster wearing a suit of armor almost
something
with his axes.
with like I don't know. His size seemed to get smaller this episode too. Did you notice like when he was
he's
fighting
as
the one
big
guy?
as he needs to be.
I suppose.
He's as big as he needs to be for that scene.
So that was
He can't
a
fit
thing.
through the archway. We need to make him smaller.
Yeah, that was the problem with like almost every sci-fi original movie. It's like, oh, the T-Rex is 80 feet tall, and then the next scene like he goes like under like a 15-foot
and
bridge.
you're
You're like,
what?
Huh?
And they're like, well, the script says he has to go into the parking garage, and he has to be exactly tall enough to do that.
He bites somebody, then the next thing he eats someone whole. You're like,
Yeah.
huh.
Or
That's
like,
interesting.
or it's like, we barely got away, and he has like a bite mark in him, and you're like, he literally ate a car. How could he have?
Yeah. I always love in
Getting
movies like they have like 3 scratches across
Yeah.
their chest, and it was like you were attacked by a shark. How the
Yeah.
fuck did that happen?
He doesn't have any spikes anywhere.
Huh.
There's nothing that could make that pattern in you.
Back to the episode. So this one was like I'm just gonna focus on the part that I liked here.
Yeah.
And I liked this weird castle in the hills.
Yeah,
that
thank
they
God.
get to.
Sometimes it's like, let's just focus on the important part. It's like, that? What? No, yeah, I agree.
I like when you have these weird castles on the tops of mountains because I'm always like, how did they build these things? Because
Very
you
carefully.
have to bring the materials up the fucking sheer cliff to even build a castle. And then I'm like, well, maybe some seasons it's not as bad. It's still always a fucking mountaintop.
I have a theory.
Eagles?
The Eagles carried the ring, you fuck. No, I think they just carved it out of the mountain.
Even if you were to, let's say that was true, you carved it out of the mountain, but it's still made of blocks, so you would have to like carve the blocks
No,
out to do the thing.
that's
You're
like a-
saying that it's actually just carved into the
It's
mountain.
a centimeter deep furrow. No, I'm
But
sure.
like even just all the wood and the things, like the
Yes.
furnishings, all that shit was not mined from the earth. There. So like they had to just a convoy of like servants just bringing this
you
shit
gotta
up.
do what you gotta do, man. We're at war. This is a tactical fortified position.
Makes me sick. But I loved the guy who runs the place. And
So-
I, in my head, called it, and I wish I would have watched this with you so I could have been like,
Ha ha!
I've been taking in this poison for years, building up a tolerance. I knew that was going to come.
Once they switch the plates and all that
Yes.
stuff, yeah.
It screamed to me like, I'm like, yep, that's the thing.
Yeah, for some, like, I didn't even, not that I don't really try to predict things. So whenever I predict anything, it means that it's super obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all eating, and, like, the way that they switched and how, like, weird he seemed, I kind of wrote it off, like, well, it can't be that now, because they made all these, like, references around it and all that stuff. Because, like, she brings him a plate, like, no, you're eating too, everyone has to eat. It was this very obvious thing, and it's like, oh, it was that at the end. It was a little weird.
Yeah. And it wasn't bad. I liked how, they wake up and they're on the meat hooks and, like,
Yeah.
the nameless guard guy is being tortured to death.
Yep.
Because that's obvious, because,
Oh, yeah.
he doesn't have a name. He
Gotta
has to
trim
die.
down the characters. It's
Exactly.
perfect.
That's just a real quick side note is when you're watching a horror movie and there's not enough characters, that's a bad horror movie because you know nobody can die.
Yes.
You're like, oh, it's only the main character. Like in Jurassic Park 3, when in the first second all the nameless people died, and you're like, well, I guess no one dies.
I guess no one else dies for at least 40 minutes, maybe longer.
But yeah, so nameless faceless
Like it's
guard dude
Braveheart.
dies, and then Will is
Yeah.
off on his own in this room. Everyone else is tied up on the things. I was like, all right. She tries to pull her high card of like, I'm the princess, bitch. Let me free. And he's like, you die first.
I love that, like, everyone, it, like, pans around all the hooks, and they're all like, ooh, bad idea. Like, no, everyone's like, fuck, don't do that. And she's like, I order you to do that. And everyone's like, oh.
Yeah.
Smart move,
You can't do a
princess.
power trip when you have zero power at all. I thought that guy was just
Truer
like
words
something
never been
about
said.
him. Super creepy, rapey.
He was a creepy fuck. And, like, we're going to go on 2 or 3 journeys here.
Sure.
Total. This is the first one. He says, my name is whatever the fuck. People call me Remo. And this is Mag.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mag? The main demon guy's name is Magdador or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh shit. And then I'm looking at like the weird shape of his head. And I'm like, I think if you put some makeup on him and some rings and like a gash in his thing, I think he's the bad guy. He's the fucking bad guy. It's projecting and it's the thing that's possessed. Something's happening. And none of that was the thing at all. He was just a like deranged serial torture fuck guy, which I guess is fine.
No, and when he says he's gonna like lobotomize her, just like I did her mother, you'll be complacent. Everything about you will work except your mind.
Barely functional.
I was like, oh man, that's ooh.
I actually liked that a lot because that was super dark and like crazy and shitty. I'm not sure why he's torturing her with the fingernails if he's just gonna lobotomize her. It seems like a weird thing, but it sold it. It was fine.
I just think he likes torture. The fingernail thing was weird because when Will came in on Latch her fingernails were not attached at all, so I don't know how that was working. Did you notice the thing he like the lobotomy tool seemed to be like CG? I don't believe it was real.
Huh.
Because it just like the way it went into her nose and like it just seemed like it was like it didn't line up exactly right.
Yeah, she's probably like, you can't put that thing that far up my nose. And they were like, fine, we'll fucking extend it in CG.
It felt like
it's gonna
CG.
cost $5,000. I'll get my nephew to do it.
Worth it.
Worth it.
But it was that scene was just really nice. Like I liked he felt like a creep, and the way it cut back and forth between Will and Mag and him and her. I was like, all right, I'm into this. This is cool.
He reminded me of that guy that works with Tarantino a lot. I forget his name.
He reminded me of like Larry Fesserden.
Who the like a thin bald Larry Fesserden.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, super creepy and like in like the close-ups, and I'm like this too, so I can like certain actors like like their skin tones are weird and they just look weird, and you're like, is that extra makeup? I think he just looks like that. You're great. And his fucking teeth in his mouth and just like, how dare you do this? And you're like, oh god, and like crazy.
And knew from like the jump of like her helping them, I'm like, well, she has to die because they're not going to bring her with them.
So that was so weird and dumb too, because she like jumps and saves him, does the whole thing. But yeah, it was so obvious, like something has to happen. I thought she might fall off of something, but I was like, this is crazy. You can't bring a kid with you unless like the other thing's right there. That's not gonna work.
Yeah, and presumably there's no towns on the way from here to there because you're like going into the middle of nowhere.
You're already in Fuckville.
Yeah.
Fuckstville.
East
Town.
Fuckstown.
Ooh.
But I liked that, even though it was telegraphed, it was still good. And it was almost obvious when you opened her hand, the shell was going to be there.
And you left the seashell, closed her hand. No, that's for you, honey. Oh,
he grew very attached to her, like in a second.
I know, yeah. I think he has issues.
I guess he hasn't run into a lot of half breeds.
I think he has issues.
Well, the man has issues.
The man has issues.
He used his stones
just
successfully.
Already. We're getting to the end though.
I jump around.
Jump around.
I thought
around.
I always I'm like a fiend for when I think things are like unnecessarily dumb, and I thought that whole scene where he shoots the thing, I thought that was so dumb. So like his plan is to hold on with one arm over this gorge as he slides. Like I can't imagine anyone doing that ever. Just think about this.
No,
think about holding your body up by one hand.
He's a roguish, spindly half-elf.
Nothing to do with his physical prowess.
Of an elf.
I completely believe he can actually hold himself
I don't. Okay.
up by one hand. I think that would be fine. Do I think he could grab a ice cold fucking bar in the middle of like, once you're outside in the winter for a little while, barehanded, your hand's cold. It's not as good as
They
an
had
elf.
just
And
run
then
out of
to
the thing.
jump, grab one-handed, only to then like, drop because your weight is gonna come down, and then slide across a fucking thing on a slack line, that's not gonna work. Regardless of the fact that the line was cut, he was gonna fall.
Okay.
So that's that.
For a
And
second, I thought he was going to use his magic for something other than just blasting. And then once he started blasting, I thought maybe the blast
would
would
propel them.
propel them across. And none of that happened.
What didn't make sense to me was how when the monster got on, it wasn't that they just stopped sliding. They didn't slide back towards him.
Yeah.
It should have been like he's heavy enough that he is now the center dip.
I would have liked that, but it just sort of made it so that it like had to tilt back, so that it was now like an incline, so they couldn't go anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
That whole thing kind of clumsy and weird and dumb. And like the King of the Rovers is just like, fuck them, I guess, like all of a sudden, which you're like, I guess that's your character now, but now he's like, let's save him and all that. Like, I don't.
No, well, he's
Whatever.
all alone now on the top of a mountain, so we'll see how well that plans for him, because he did cut the wire, and the demon, which may or may not be dead at this point, because I don't know how much shot it takes to kill something, and his daughter
I don't think
and
he's dead at all.
the princess and Will just fell presumably to water below,
They're falling into some gorge, and it's a cliffhanger.
because they
But
fell
I
into
don't
like
think it's,
mist. You couldn't really see anything.
Yeah, very
We don't even know how
intentionally.
deep that is.
It's a very intentionally ambiguous situation that we find ourselves in. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen, but I'm sure they're all fine.
They're probably fine.
Because I don't know. It was a very unsatisfying ending, I'll put it that way. We didn't quite mention...
I did think an ending like this episode had a thing
Yeah.
where I was like, is that the fucking end? Earlier on, there was like a weird like
Yep.
long cut. I can't
Yes.
remember what that was,
was a
but I was like,
long-
what is this? It ends. Oh, it's not over.
There was a long cut to black, and we haven't mentioned this side plot at all.
Yeah, switch
where
back
they,
over now.
We want to go do all the things.
Reel it back in.
So what's his name and what's her name? And
This is back at the castle.
Slanter the gnome and the two elves.
Oh,
The elvish. I don't want to say the black lady elf because that's racist or something, but that's how you know. I don't know her name.
I hate her character because I don't like the metal ears as the excuse to
Okay.
not use a prosthetic.
Oh God, is that what you think it is? I guess.
If
yeah.
you looked at, and I
They're
looked at it
hollow?
very quickly, it looked like you could see the top ridge of her ear
that fucking
and
bitch.
then the points.
How dare she?
Yeah, because like it's made of like tinfoil or some shit. Like it's brutal. They go with
Part of me envies you, and part of me feels bad for you that you notice and are hung up by these things.
when you watch it, you watch it on the TV or watch it on the computer?
Watch it right here.
I watch on my computer, so I'm like
Ah.
right in it. I'm like, look
Oh,
at that
okay.
fucking shit.
Sure. Well, I like look down to like jot notes down.
I
and
don't take
stuff,
any
so,
notes.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess if I was, I really have to watch it twice to get the full effect. Point is, they're off with the gnome. They find some dead gnomes.
Yep.
They do the whole fucking thing. I kind of liked that he's like, I have to say like last rites or some shit, and they're like, I guess they do that. I don't know. And he goes over and just grabs the knife and like escapes.
Because
they were
I
dumb
didn't like
and he
exactly
fucked
how that
off.
went. I thought he
Yeah.
would like pocket that knife and
I
then
thought
later
so, yeah.
on like pick the lock and get away. He
Yes.
went right balls to the wall for it.
Right.
He
I totally
risked
agree
a
with
lot
that.
there because
Yes.
he has this little sword, a little blade, not even a sword. It's like a little knife thing, and she's presumably a trained killer. And he's wanted for the like murder of a prince and like
For
attempted murder of
princecide.
the king, leader of the rebels. She could have just struck him down.
Yeah.
So he took a risk, but a risk paid off, and he did get away.
I totally agree with all that clumsiness. The only excuse from I think they wanted you to think, well, she has feelings for him still, and that's why she didn't want to risk scrapping or whatever, and that's why they got away or whatever.
But he doesn't know that.
No, and even that's dumb because he still somehow gets away from two of them when he's been strung up like a fucking duck at a Chinese food restaurant for like 10 years and like shouldn't have any muscle tone or ability to do all these things, or maybe gnomes are
Yeah,
fucking
gnome-
powerful or something.
Noam
I have
Chomsky.
no idea how he pulled this off, but they should have just been able to be like whistle and be like, that's my horse. No, what the fuck? He just bucks him off and goes like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Like there's so many ways this like should not have been a thing. And he's just like, but I kind of, to come full circle, I kind of like that because they're like, we're fucked. This sucks. Why do we do this? This is a dumb plan. We're awful at this. We should go back to the fancy castle. And I kind of like that idea.
I can see like the counterpart of why he would strike immediately, because it's like you do not know if you will ever get another chance.
Exactly.
And like, yeah, take it right now while I can get it.
Yeah,
I
totally
like
fine
that
with
he
him,
went, found out like some shit, knew the world was real, came back for them, and they all go to look. Holy shit! A lot of leaves fell off that tree.
And that's the scene where there's the long cuts of black before it picks back up with them escaping and all that stuff. So that's when I thought, oh, like, is that the end? Is this like the fucking Mordor, Gates of Mordor?
But
ending?
there, how many like thousands of demons, right?
I didn't have time to count all the pixels. There were so many pixels in that valley.
An army, like
literal army,
like holy shit amount.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, are that many leaves missing from the tree? Like, Jesus.
They really haven't driven that point home, and I feel like that would have been more effective.
I think
this is like very I'm
it
shocked.
was startling. Like, you shouldn't walk into something not knowing anything's a possibility.
I'm shocked that the tree has that many leaves, and they do all these Aberlorn like establishing shots where the tree just looks exactly the same every time.
Yes, I would only been rendered once.
I would have loved to have seen like the whole upper left side is just like this
the
bare
whole back
tangled
where you
mass
can't see
or
it.
something, and you're like,
the dark
oh
side
my
of the moon
God.
is all lifted.
Yeah, it's just getting like sicker and shittier, and in like those shots, because then you could just like supercut that and be like, here's throughout all the episodes, look at this awesome attention to like detail. But it seems to just be the same thing that they're
a little too much similar.
Whatever. Yeah,
but that amount of demons is insane.
Way
Because we've
above.
never even seen how many elves there are.
Right.
They have for the amount of amazing castles they have. We've seen 2, where I'm like, they should have at least a bazillion fucking warriors.
Right, they're kind of over the hill and stuff. It seems like too. It seems like they're not as he kind of makes reference to it. They're not as like practiced or whatever. They're in that weird when things are getting long in the tooth or whatever as like a society.
Well, like that castle,
like
exactly, like having 2 people in
yes, yeah, perfect. Yeah, because like the war's over, they came to do this, and he like killed them, and they were like, should we send more guys? Like no or something. Like what? Yeah. So shit's definitely not a well-oiled war machine of nonstop whatever. Probably due to like the the last demon thing, and they're still anyway. I don't know. No, there's a million demons. I don't think we've seen what a normal demon looks like either, or like their stat sheet.
Yeah,
because we've only seen.
Do you think that like the average demon is just like a human, but like ghostly or like zombified or something?
I think they're just the orcs from Lord of the Rings. Probably
sure.
Literally.
And we've seen only like the scout harpies and the blah blahs, like the more powerful ones.
Like that as I think in this they call the harpies furies, but like it like flies, but like the way its wings fold up and it has arms and shit, it's like the fucking gremlin from Gremlins that becomes like a bat gremlin. It's like this terrifying. Yeah. It's just tearing her apart, and it's like a wild animal. It's
rendering talons,
very agile. It's fucking crazy.
2 pieces, you say.
Those are fucking crazy. And then fucking axe dude, dual wielding barbarian axe man, just tore through all those heads, just a pile of heads in his wake. Like those are serious, and like the changeling, and then Magdador himself.
Yeah, because if it's an army of things like that,
then it's fucking. It's like all the Scooby-Doo villains all in like a big army.
But presumably, there's at least a few more powerful than we've seen already.
Yeah,
and probably countless ones that are less powerful. But just by numbers, and how poor the elven army seems to be, where like it's never a 1-to-1 fight. It's like a 7-to-1 where they always lose.
No, and well, this group in particular, but even if the army is just that big, and even if they're like as effective or like half as effective as an elven, person, it's still they're fucked.
Yeah.
Because they're 100% dedicated to this cause. They're all going to march in. The dude's going to do this one.
How many gnomes do you think there are? Because certainly the gnomes are going to join in.
So part of this is segueing into like, where is this going or whatever the fuck. So yeah, Slanter was like, I'm going to go talk to my people and shit and let them know about the bullshit. But he also drops like, are you going to fight them like just the elves? Can you even do that? And he's like, I don't know, like fuck or whatever. And he's like, all right, and like he's gonna go walk.
They don't
home.
have a choice because they're seemingly the immediate enemy. They're like, you have the tree, we kill you. You have the tree.
Yeah.
And like you're on the list, so it's like
no.
Whether I want to fight them or not, I have to fight them.
No, that's your first target to then complete.
But like
the thing.
assuming Slanter's not an idiot, he knows the elves don't have enough forces to fight that, and once they've defeated the elves, they're gonna come for you. So better to fight a 2-front war than a 1.
Exactly, and that's what I see happening. The humans, the gnomes. We haven't really seen trolls or dwarves, or have we? Right?
No.
That one thing was a troll, I think we said. But
We
like,
thought, but it also looked exactly like the gnomes, so who knows?
I think the trolls wear gas masks and the gnomes wear the eye things.
Maybe.
Fucking dumb, whatever. But and I guess now's the time. We talked about the zip line. Real quick, highlighting Axeman fights Crispin, whatever. We
Yes.
talked about that, but actually it was like super downplayed. During that fight, his stunt double or like whatever is doing these awesome like flips.
Uh-huh.
Like it's like a strength character versus an agility character, like a dexterity
Yeah.
character. And I actually like fights like that, and it was like super fine and like finely done or whatever the fuck.
It was. My only problem was that
could've
it made it
been,
look like Axeman was much smaller than
it
he
did,
was in that
yes.
previous scene where he was like 12 feet tall.
Yeah, but that totally could have been. Maybe he's smaller because he got blowed up. Maybe he's reconstituting himself.
I can't stand rationales ever.
Ooh, I like that. And then they'll beat him again. He'll be like, oh, little baby Groot. No, but like that's a fight that should have just been like a throwaway. He should have been like, you won't pass, and then the dude just walks out with his head. Like you didn't have to put any money into that fight at all. But they were doing choreographing and like fucking parrying and dodge rolling.
Well, he was
and
the
shit.
leader of the guard.
Yeah.
He should be better.
And and he's been such a dick too that I'm glad he's like, let me show you my stuff. I have stuff, and not just like
Yeah.
I'm dead though, because that would have just been. I like the bright spots of not as incompetent in like the midst of like, are you people incompetent? Do you just suck at this? What's
I
wrong
really
with you?
like when you have like I wouldn't even say a hero, but like a hero type character that's just like a really crazy shit talker, but they back it up.
Yeah.
I love the like who is this fool? And like he just is poning sauce. Not that this guy was that. He died. But I
know what
like
you're
that
talking
kind of
about.
character.
Though. Anime does that a lot,
Mhm.
and it's great. Teacher Onizuka, a show that you should watch. Oh my god. So we talked about the Smoky Axe Cunt being awake.
Back at the castle though, we have the
There's all this stuff happening at home.
yeah, we have the random like hench maiden that was gonna die that got saved is somehow a more pivotal character now and is sent on a mission to
Guess
find an
what?
epic
By
weapon.
process of elimination, you're a character now.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So they find this crazy sword, like that's like
Yeah.
ribbed for your pain,
For your
pleasure.
No, but we should say the fucking so the prince is not dead. The king is is the changeling. The changeling was just the prince to like the prince. Yeah, he's a prince.
Yeah.
To like fool him and like kill him, but he didn't.
Yeah,
kill,
he didn't actually
kill
kill the
that
prince.
guy first.
No,
So
yeah.
that was just like a one-off, and now he's just the king.
Yeah.
And that dude, what's his name?
King.
No, in Sliders.
Oh, Arturo.
Arturo. I always forget his name because it's like a fake name to me. No,
It's his last name, Maximilian Arturo.
he's laying it down. Maximilian is the man. He actually seems different now that he's the changeling, as the king versus he was before.
Yeah.
I like that, and like it's not too over the top and fucking crazy.
No, sure.
I like a nice subtle, like you're the clone or you're the possessed one now, and you're just different. His face
Speaking
is
of
different. Yeah.
possessed ones, the druid
So
touches
good.
the boy, and our demon man uses that as a convoy to like ride into him, and blacks his eyes, and he like zaps the prince dude away from the wall, chokes the girl, and sets up pretty nicely the mistrust that they wanted to put in him from the first place.
I loved this so much.
Did you?
How do you feel about this?
It was, if you think about it as a calculated, well-laid plan, it was pretty great.
Sure.
Because all the things that guy suspected, you kind of put into realization here, and then got a weapon and endgamed him.
Made it happen. No, but I love. Okay, on the Lord of the Rings commentary, when Dumbledore fights Saruman, and he fuck Gandalf and Saruman fight. Peter Jackson says, "Yeah, we were gonna do something where they throw lightning at each other and all bullshit, but we said like, fuck that. Let's just have it be like old guys just slapping into the limestone and like close-ups and like and all this like what's going on because you wouldn't know it's like magic. It's crazy or whatever." I was like, I love that or whatever. And here like. From our childhoods and our lives, we kind of just know how everything works or whatever the fuck. And I love when something doesn't work the same way.
Okay.
So this whole thing of like the visions are like a two-way thing, and then he can transfer it to the other guy and then pull him into like the vision too. And it's not really like a vision; he's like there somehow, but he's not there now. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
In that vision, when he was seeing that, do you think that like, was the druid actually there when that happens, or was that just him being there because of the vision? Because I could take it either way.
Yeah.
because either he was standing in front of there or not, or he was standing there in the vision. The demon saw him because he was in the vision, and then it got him. Like it was pretty interesting. I don't think he's actually dead.
Okay, right. So we should say, yeah, he stabs him and then stabs him again. So he can't.
I feel like that's like a sort of imprisonment or something,
Yes.
because it's like a magical whatever.
It's a magical sword, and he can't be dead because he's too cool. And most importantly, they had the guy say, "What happened?" And like, why would you say that? You just be like, "This thing's awesome." If he's like dead, right? Something clearly happened. And
Yeah.
it didn't. That's not like a normal way.
No, yeah, people
A
don't just
sword
disappear.
kills you. Yes, he like burst into like fucking ashy flame or something. It makes no sense. So he's obviously not dead, and he'll be back. But that's weird. He's gone. Bandon is in like a black-eyed, corrupted coma.
Yeah.
Uh,
You think it's like a Phantom Zone sword? Like you stab them and they
Yes.
get sucked into that shit, and they're trapped there floating
Yes.
around in little discs.
yes, and I guess when they get back, you'll have the sword. It's so murky because they're so far away from like dipping the seed and like going back or whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how it's gonna go down. But yeah, someone's gonna like sense something or know something that he's in there, and they're gonna have to like smash the sword or use the stones on the
He's
sword.
gonna pull a Master Splinter, and he's gonna come to them in the fire.
Yeah.
My sons. And he's blue.
Oh my god, he's gonna be like a force ghost. The sword will. He's like, what? Smash the sword. That sounds like a good idea anyway. Okay. Oh, this glowing,
Yeah.
horrible sword.
But yeah, a lot did
anything about
happen in
that?
this episode.
Most notably the misdirected Lesbos scene.
Yeah. And who do you think was watching in that scene? Because it
was
could have been
it-
the kid, it could have been the creep, it could have been Will, it could have been the dad, it could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody. I think
And they didn't actually come out and say it.
they didn't come out and say it, and I thought from the angle because later the final battle happens in that same room with like the tub.
Yeah.
So part of me was like, was someone looking from the passageway? Because it seemed like that might have been where like the tapestry was hanging, and there might have been like a hole in that door that you could see through or something like that. That was my interpretation. Because I thought the way the timeline plays out, they're still talking to that guy, and like the girl is like somewhere else, and they kind of show you that. I could be wrong.
Most of that stuff, I can never be sure of. Like I'm like mistake
Mistake.
or plan.
Mistake or
even,
like
even the
brilliant
angle,
setup.
even like the angle to say, oh, that was behind this thing, doesn't mean anything because Steven Spielberg does a thing where it's like, I don't care where light sources are supposed to be coming from. What makes a good movie?
I know.
And I'm like, could be that. It could have just been cheaper. I couldn't get far enough away over there, so we just went over here and filmed it. Like,
Right, we only have the one wall that we can use for this, and this is what the thing is close. I know.
exactly. So it's
But-
hard to say that, but it's certainly possible it could have been someone else.
But so I have to make deductions. If it was someone through there, that makes less sense because who's there and what's whatever.
I don't know. That's why I asked.
But we got this not like weird. So I'm having trouble with the Eritrea character for various reasons. Again, when she's not talking, I keep saying she's not that bad. She's fine. You're just picking on her. Like he said, he didn't like her, and you didn't like her either. So now you're just piling on and acting like it's a whole thing or whatever. But then things keep happening where I'm like, it's not even just the actress. It's like, what is this character? Who is writing this character? What is this? Was she trying to get one over on her? Is she really attracted to her? Is it going to be like a love trapezoid? Where there's like an extra.
I'm
like,
thinking
fucking-
it was just I know how to make your shit awkward. I know
Just
you
to
haven't
fuck
done
with
this,
her, yeah.
so fuck you. I got another stare look at that fucking thing on her forehead. I'm like, is it paint?
Is it
Like,
changing
what the
color?
fuck is it? It's there in the shower. There's nothing leading from it. It's certainly a tattoo or mark of some sort. 'Cause it's not.
Yeah.
What I originally thought was it was like a little chain hanging a thing like
Oh,
through her
okay.
hairline or
Yeah.
something like a.
No, it's some
Fucking-
dumb thing that
Is
no
it
one
weird?
else
That's the thing that
has.
annoys me the most. Like when I'm like, what the fuck
Sure.
is that thing?
I don't know why. Well, it's probably on like the cover of one of the books. But I'm like, why would you do that?
I don't know.
No, but I don't. But like, again, this is like nitpicky, whatever the fuck. But like, if she was just trying to fuck with Amberly, it seemed like she was legitimately hurt when she was like, like insulted her like back away and mentioned her dad and her like dad/fake dad
Yeah.
or whatever, and then kind of like cowered nearby, kind of wounded about it. And I'm like, if this is all dumb game to you, why didn't you just? What is happening here?
That's like the bonus of like when you're like branded a liar and you're like you have motives is that you could do anything including your real motives and like
Yeah.
just play it off. Oh, I was doing this or I was doing that. Like
Just trying to get a rise out of you. or some
couldn't
shit
say
like
what
that.
she really wants here because it's in the book I'm sure there's like in her head she said blah 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 and like you would just know but
Yeah,
movies
so
don't have that same thing.
that might be the problem. Is something's not coming across. I think her like delivery, is often. And I'm not sure again if it's like the writing or like the actress or whatever. I can't get a read. I want to like all these characters, and Amberly and Will have done enough that I'm kind of okay with them.
It's more or less just
She's lagging behind the group.
just a modern update of Archie.
It's really just Archie.
Just
Everything's just Archie.
Yeah.
I liked the line, perhaps your parents chose to start a new life, free of their burdens.
Yes, yes.
And he was like, I'm the king of the fucking rovers. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Eat your soup.
But he wasn't king then.
In fact, eat my soup. Oh.
Too many peas.
I switched them. No, it's amazing.
Where would you even get peas?
It's crazy.
Like-
why even say peas? Why is pea the line?
But like even the red, what is that? Tomato? Where is anything coming from?
Where does it make
You're
any
at
sense?
least like a 3-day hike to get a vegetable.
Sure.
God, I hate you.
Me or like the show for having vegetables?
Both.
It's like it's a two-pronged attack.
Yeah.
This show both has vegetables.
And I know there were castles, there were things, they did have whatevers.
Yeah.
But it just, in those scenarios, there was like a tribe of people. There were many people. When there's 3 people, and really it's just 2, and kind of just 1.5, because one's a child and barefoot and like an idiot, and you're like an old fuck. So like there are no people. There's nowhere to get these items from.
Yeah, there's no like supply depot drop thing happening because he says they came from me and I killed them or whatever the fuck, right? He says that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not just making that up.
But they killed his wife.
Yeah, but
Wait,
do they like not know he's there? Is he like squatting in like the?
Who was they though? That was the.
I thought it was the elves who were like.
That's what I thought.
who were
I'm
like
like, what sense does that
Who
make?
were like, the war's over. You can't keep torturing people. You're a crazy fuck. Wait a minute. You like lobotomize one of the humans and you've been like fucking this zombie. That's not cool. Nowhere in like the charter does it say you should do that. That's against the codes.
But how many people would they send? Would they just send like 3 people and he could easily kill them? Was there literally nobody left in the castle but him and them? How did that happen?
I want to say that they sent a bunch of people and then kept sending more and more people and just kept killing them all and they gave up. I don't think that's what happened. No, I think
It's such a weird thing.
I
Because at some
think,
point he was there with like a full regiment of people, you'd imagine. And he was
Yes.
like the king of that castle. And then maybe the first people came and said, all right, we're leaving, and everyone left, and they're
Yeah.
like, our captain didn't leave. Oh, I'll go back for him. Ha! And that like,
Yeah.
no, he killed that one guy.
No, I think like the war ended, but his war didn't end, and he was like crazy, and they were like, "You're crazy," and most of them left, or he killed them, or there maybe some awkwardness happened for a while, but it was just him and his lobotomized slave wife, and then like officials from like the whatever came and said, "You can't be doing this," and he killed them, but they killed his wife while they were there, and then either they thought he left, or they thought he died, or they thought something happened, and now he's squatting, or they're in this.
They're not using it either. So
Yeah, they're in this
care.
like skeleton crew shambles mode where they're like, well, he'll starve anyway. It isn't like he has a gigantic frozen barrel of like the red soup that we all love. He can't just eat that forever. That would be crazy.
His daughter appeared to be like over 10 though, right?
The actress,
Even if you assume she was just 10.
sure,
So like the day the war was like before it ended, he had this kid.
yeah,
And you don't know what time that they would have came to call it off and his wife would have died. But he may have been there alone for a long-ass time. How many people do you think even come across this castle? Because they were like, it's a myth, blah, blah, blah. No one's ever...
yeah.
Is this a myth? And like,
How's your myth now, motherfuckers?
if the person who, like, in quotes, owns the castle doesn't even know it's there, how many people are hopping across this guy that he could be, like, readily torturing
That's
people?
why he's so happy. I'm so happy we have guests.
You wouldn't think you'd think he'd space it out though. You think he wouldn't kill them immediately. Like
Yeah.
he killed that one guard instantly. You think he'd torture him for like I don't know a month.
It's like an appetizer. He's got to wet the.
Well, maybe
wet the-
also because he knows he
the
can't
beak.
feed them. He had to kill the first one just to have food for the next one.
Oh, that's terrifying. Just gonna take a foot and put it in a blender for you.
Kinda.
That's a call. Back, forward. Are we basically done with this
I
episode?
think that's everything that happened.
Because I
in
have
this
something
episode.
to bring up.
What's your
It's
final
very
button
important
here?
to me. It's very important to me. Golden offers often have iron at their cores. That's not the thing. That's like a throwaway thing. It's a fake thing. I thought more about the world of the Shannara Chronicles,
Okay,
and I have a working theory
let's hear it.
for what happened and what's going on.
All right.
It's based on our previous discussion and me noticing some stuff in like the intro credits and all that other business.
What do you got for me?
I want to bounce it off you here.
Throw it. Let's see what sticks.
In the opening credits, there's a skull, like a flaming skull montagey thing, and then blood comes down,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts to say like human, gnome, troll, like elf or something, or dwarf or something like that or whatever.
Sure.
I thought that was like roots of a tree or something, right? Those like branching blood things
Okay.
or whatever. You know, like artistically speaking, right? Because it's all about this tree, and it's about the world, died. Now there's the tree is taking root, and the new world, whatever. But after we talked last episode, and I saw it again this episode, because that MTV logo wakes me up every time, and I have to watch the intro credits, because like the ripoff of like the Lord song comes on, it really sucks me in. I think that might be like in like the evolutionary charts where you have like orangutan, and then you go over here and it's like chimpanzee and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I think it's a human skull. So all the humans die in some horrible thing, and then I think that gave rise to like gnomes and elves and all the different things. I think that the gnomes might be like mutated humans or something like that, and that's why
Maybe.
there's so few humans, and like the humans are the humans that like survived and are still human. And the other races are like mutated humans or fucked up humans or something like that.
Certainly possible.
To the point where they became like an actual other species for some reason.
That still wouldn't explain, like, where did magic come
It
from?
doesn't
and where-
explain. It does not explain magic, and I can't explain the magic. But I'm wondering if they're even going to address this in any way, or how this is going to work, or whatever the fuck.
They may address nothing.
But something about something. The skull and the credits. Okay, because he also says last episode because we've seen the toxic waste. We've seen like metal things that somehow like survived.
Yeah.
One of the few things we've seen of like the humans in this world is this horrible toxic waste business. And the King of the
Yeah.
Rovers says, "Oh, don't worry, Elfie boy, you're gonna have your own chance to destroy the world soon enough," or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's hinting that like the humans destroyed the world. This was also made like recently. And, like, a big meme is, like, we're destroying
Sure.
the world with all of our bad stuff or whatever the fuck.
Oh, for at least 45 years.
Well, but I mean, like, right now. More so than ever. So I feel like it would be very topical to or, like, to have written the books about this, right? Like, the whole world is the way it is in this fantasy setting because of, like, the mistakes that the humans made back in the day.
Yeah. You
And I
find
feel
out it's
like,
year 3080.
It's been 3,000 years since humans, right? Since, like, the thing.
Since the war?
No, since 3,000 years, and their like poison is still deadly.
Oh,
or
that's
whatever.
right. That's right. Yeah.
So it's been long enough not for magic to spontaneously come up, but it's been long enough for people not to know. No, the gnomes were humans too, but they were mutated, and now they can't even breed with humans because they're so different, and they have their own like race that slowly sprang up or whatever the fuck.
I wonder though how long it would take for something like that to ever
I have
happen.
no idea.
To where you couldn't even No. But maybe you can still breed together because you do have
Kinky.
elf and humans.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So like no, that theory could hold water.
Maybe gnomes are just so ugly.
It's possible, but you'd
No,
think
like,
eventually they're bigger. They would have raped
It
somebody.
would just happen.
Yeah.
No, and like the thing about the magic, because we talked about this a little bit. So I think early on we had just done like a trailer thing for that Sci-Fi thing where it's like, well, it's video gaming and first personing and all that stuff.
Sure.
And it's like we built this power plant that like sucks off some other dimension or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like opens portals and does weird shit like that. So part of how we like destroyed the world could have been this cataclysmic event that like calls the energy of the thing and the parallax wave to go through, or who knows what the fuck happened.
A lot of opportunities here, and I don't think they'll ever tell us, but I want them to.
I really would like there to be something that, so I'm hoping at the end of this season we like bring this particular problem to resolution, and we have a Twilight Zone-y mindfucky thing of like, wait a minute, but this relic is this human thing that we all know, or we like see something and we go,
I was
oh,
hoping
shit.
that the ancient weapon he was searching for was like a gun.
A
or
gun.
something, Yeah.
Yeah. No, so like some stuff like that peppered in
It's a
might,
chainsaw.
or like they like have a torch and they're like reading like in Stargate like hieroglyphics or those glowing things, and they're like, oh, it's the legend of like the Great Destroyer came and did and they go through, and then like people realize like, wait a minute, or something like that was humans doing this or something.
Yeah.
I would really get off on that. So as we've already established, I don't get what I want out of life, so I feel like that will
Yeah.
never happen on this show, but I hope it does.
Well, we'll see. All right, guys. So that was this episode of the Shannara Chronicles. Tune in next time to hear more of our thoughts on bullshit. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.